Okay, MegaWhale team, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you're all having an amazing day today. In today's video, we are taking a look at the recent rally to retest the daily downtrend for Bitcoin, discussing the macro charts, the weekly candle close, short-term expectations, and so much more. Before we get into it, smash that like button, hit that comment button, and subscribe to the channel. We post daily videos of Bitcoin focusing on the facts, the data, the technical, and the structural information. No hype, no BS, no emotion, pure raw TA. If that is the kind of content you were interested in, join us on Telegram. It is the first link down below. You'll get access to charts, updates, videos, educational posts, news events, and everything you need to stay in the loop for cryptocurrency with Bitcoin and the relevant economic news. And if you were interested in taking your trading to the next level, you can join us in VIP by clicking the pinned comment in the free channel, clicking my name or these links for more information. You'll get access to trading setups with exact entries, exact targets, exact stop losses. You'll also get access to our group chats, our general chat, our trading chart and education chat, our news, help, and daily video chat, guys. We have over 600 members. Join up to check it out. We've been going for 45 months now. You can find out more information in those links. Let's go ahead and dive on into the video. So taking a look at Bitcoin's price action over the past 24 hours, Bitcoin was able to see a pretty solid breakout of that horizontal neckline resistance, a level we sustained as resistance for around about 2 full days. Upon the breakout of that resistance, we have since been developing this rising channel formation into our major daily downtrend. Now, as you know, a rising channel formation does pose the risk of short-term pullbacks or even a potential breakdown as a consequence of a loss of this channel. This is something we'll be discussing in the short-term analysis today. Zooming out, we can see, however, with that break outwards of the horizontal range, we were able to retest this major multi-week long downtrend. This downtrend has spanned since the start of October, a 1 week long downtrend, which is a critical level of resistance, which we need to break above. And as we said in a prior video, a break above this region is really what is required for Bitcoin to send back into that 69,000 resistance, potentially even into that $70,000 region. So this level of resistance have utmost macro significance and even short-term significance. Moving over to the market data, we'll come back to all of this. 24-hour volume sitting at 72 billion, of course, coming out of the weekend. That should slowly trickle upwards, down 11%. 24-hour liquidations up 3%, 67 million. Of the 67 million, 45 million coming from shorts as Bitcoin continued aggressively upwards, and 22 million coming from long positions. Moving over to the broader markets, the DXY is still sitting above that critical level of resistance as we speak. Again, while we sustain above this region, we are anticipating potential moves upwards to 105. Now, this does apply some downward pressure on our risk assets markets, and of course, if we are able to break back below this region, we are expecting full-blown corrections to that 100 region. But again, while we sit above this resistance, the possibility of corrections for Bitcoin and again the S&P 500 are present. We have to be aware of that. Even if it doesn't play out, we have to be aware of that. Moving to the S&P 500, the weekly did close relatively bearish. Again, this was a bearish engulfing candle, but we have opened up since green. Now, while we still remain above these weekly highs at 5,600, at 5,700, we are expecting macro continuation still to 6,000. So it doesn't really matter what happens here on this weekly moves, these intra-week moves. While the weekly is able to sustain these weekly highs, we are expecting continuations. Only upon the loss of that weekly high at 5,680, a candle closing below that region, would we then be confident to say the price action is likely going to retest that 50 MA or those yearly lows. Until then, it is macro bullish. Until then, we are expecting continuations much higher. And that is it, guys. Before we get into the crux of the analysis, let's talk about what we're going to be discussing. we are going to be discussing this macro downtrend, the significance and consequences of breaking above. We are also going to be talking about the short-term developing price action, potential targets based on the structure of which the price action is moving in, and where reversals could take place. And we'll also be jumping over to our macro channel and the total 2 and total 3 market cap. So before we get into it, make sure to join via the links down below. Sign up to BitGet, BitUnix, or BingX. You'll get a lifetime trading fee of 15% discount on all of your trading fees. So 15% off all your trading fees, no matter which of those exchanges you sign up with. Trade with me on the exchanges I trade with, and go ahead and sign up. Support yourself, support the channel, and let's jump back into it. I'd like to introduce our partner, BitUnix. BitUnix is a global, non-KYC, no country restriction exchange, making it a perfect exchange to trade on if you're from the USA, from Canada, the Netherlands, or just prefer to trade without KYC. This exchange is a futures and spot exchange with over 200 different trading pairs, and some of the lowest fees in the game. If you sign up with my link down below, you'll get access to 15% off your trading fees, as well as an exclusive reward center where you can claim up to a multitude in USDT prizes. So go ahead and sign up with my link down below for 15% off, and I'll see you in there. Okay guys, so we are starting on the short-term price action now, discussing the current rally to the retest and the short-term consolidation upwards. As we can see, Bitcoin is in a rising channel formation, and as we know, a rising channel formation is an exhaustion pattern. It is representing that as we are approaching this major daily resistance, major downtrend we have been below now for quite some time, we are starting to see some selling pressure build up. We are starting to see some possible exhaustion. And now this could lead to extended corrections, as we see over here, the measured move of a rising channel formation taking the depth, applying to a potential breakdown point, would take us back perfectly to retest that 67,400 horizontal region, of which sustained as resistance prior to this entire rally upwards. So it is suggesting there is a possibility Bitcoin could see a move back down into this region as an area of support. If we do see that breakdown, we are expecting the continuation into this region, and if we are able to see this region retested, we are then flipping for longs once more back up to this diagonal high. That is the short term. There really isn't too much more to it, guys. We are in a rising channel formation. A rising channel formation is bearish, so we are not actually expecting continuations through these highs yet. We could see one more sweep upwards into these highs before we continue back down. However, it is much more likely on the grand scheme of things we eventually see a breakdown of this uptrend, and upon the breakdown of this uptrend, we are likely going to see sweeps into our lower, our closest, or at least our lowest areas of liquidity, sitting around 67,800 or even 67,400 to 67,500. So on the short term, that is how I am playing it. Again, I shared some of my trades in the channel in the video yesterday. I think it's kind of cool sharing trades. This is the trades I'm currently in right now. As you can see, I'm in a Bitcoin short and an Ethereum short. Again, we are expecting moves downwards, but whether that plays out or not is a whole nother question. Moving over to our Bitcoin chart on the higher time frame, we have adjusted our uptrend of our macro channel. Now again, there is a reason we have done that, and it's simply because over time, these levels do become invalidated. The more candles that deviate above and below these regions, the less kind of validity these trend lines begin to have. So we have to slightly adjust our patterns as the trend starts to slowly change. Now, what matters is not the angle of the trend, but the structure itself has remained intact. So the structure itself is still valid, and the structure itself has still exactly all the same meanings as prior. And this brings us back to this daily trend line. This daily trend line now has even more significance because, again, a break of this daily trend line will likely result in this swing back into these highs at 68.8. We're looking again at our prior highs at 69.9. So the possibility of extended continuations upwards are present, but Bitcoin is not there yet. We still need to break above that current resistance to see that continuation higher. We are very close, but we are seeing a bit of resistance. We are seeing a bit of exhaustion develop as per the channel we are in. And if we are unable to clear this level, it is unlikely this particular move will take us higher. unless we break this resistance. So if we break that resistance, we are then expecting continuations into these highs. And of course, as you know, if we see continuations into these highs, that prior high point at 69.5 is going to act as a bullish trigger point for a continuation much higher into that 72,000 resistance. If we draw that resistance up at 72,000 right over here, let's just go ahead and draw it up. You can see this resistance right over here. We have had many high time frame retests and rejections from that area of liquidity. That is where we are expecting Bitcoin to move to if we are able to break that downtrend we just showed you. So until that happens, we do run the risk of corrections if we come back to this chart and go ahead and draw our daily highs in. Currently, Bitcoin is sustaining above our prior daily highs relatively well. Again, this is the level of support Bitcoin will need to sustain above. If we do at some point see Bitcoin drop below this region, corrections are possible down to 62 to 63, or worst case scenario, we could even see 60,000. We discussed that in much detail in yesterday's video, but you can go ahead and check out yesterday's video to find out more information specifically about that move and what we expect to come from that move. Now, even if we do see that drop down, even if we do see the correction, it is unlikely that correction will result in any macro consequences unless this RSI breaks down. If we see the RSI break this trend line, that and that alone will pose a massive risk for Bitcoin to see a drop below these lows at 60,000. And if we drop those lows at 60,000, we could see swings back to the macro channel range low. Now, I do not believe that is likely, but it is possible. Remember, trading isn't a game of certainty. It's a game of probability and possibility. So it is possible, it is not likely, but it's something we have to be aware of, because the likelihood of an event occurring will only increase or decrease based on how the price develops in real time. So if we start breaking below these highs and we start dropping down, the possibility and thus probability of a breakdown of the RSI and thus continuation starts to increase. However, at this particular moment in time, I do not think that is a likely scenario. That is not something I am watching particularly for at the moment. It's in the back of my head. I've got one eye on it, and I've got my understanding of what the consequences are of that occurring, and again, if that occurs, what impact that will have on the charts. The main worry about that move is if we drop below 60,000, we see a breakdown on the Ichimoku cloud upper band and the Gaussian channel upper band on the weekly. Now, what we've seen historically is when both of these levels are lost on the weekly, after being above it, we enter a high time frame downtrend. So we could say that a high time frame downtrend runs the risk of starting as a consequence of a loss of that critical level we just discussed, which is that 60,000 region. And of course, that is likely to be lost if the RSI breaks down. So that is it, guys. We're going to wrap the video up there. Short-term analysis, keep it nice and sweet and sharp. We are in a rising channel formation. The risk of corrections, you can see Bitcoin's already starting to drop as we've spoken. We're already starting to see these trades move into more and more profit, but we can see the price action is dropping over here. We're in a rising channel formation. I would be expecting at least a retest of this uptrend in the short term, maybe then a continuation highs. But again, if we drop below here, we are expecting those continuations into those lower points of liquidity, and for the higher time frame for Bitcoin to really push back up again, for us to see a strong continuation. This downtrend, if you take anything away from this video, this downtrend is something you have to be watching. We break that downtrend, it is highly likely we push into these prior highs, 66.8. even that 69.5, and like we said, we break 69.5, we are back above the macro downtrend. We are looking for continuations into 72,000. So we'll wrap the video up there, guys. I hope you enjoyed. A bit of a shorter one today because I started filming a bit late, but have a great rest of your day, and we'll catch you in the video tomorrow. See you then.